You think you're fine. That's the first lie you tell yourself every single day. Someone asks, "Are you okay?" And you say, "Yes," not because it's true, because explaining what's actually happening inside your head would take 3 hours, and even then, they probably wouldn't get it. So you say yes, you smile, you move on, and nobody notices, because you're very, very good at this. This video is about the price of that skill. Not the gift, the price. Because everyone talks about how deep you are, how thoughtful, how you process things differently. But nobody talks about what it actually costs you to live this way. Today, we do. If you've ever felt completely alone in a room full of people who love you, stay with me. This one's for you. Let's start with what's actually happening inside people like you, because most of the world has it completely wrong. When you go quiet, people assume one of 3 things. You're upset, you're bored, or you're judging them. And the worst part? You've stopped correcting them. Because how do you explain that silence isn't absence? It's the opposite. It's everything happening at once. Here's what's actually going on. People who process in silence aren't withdrawing from the world. They're going deeper into it. Every conversation, every look, every shift in someone's tone, it gets registered, stored, turned over, examined from 4 different angles before a single word comes out. Psychologists call this high internal processing. It means your brain doesn't do surface. It can't. When something happens to you, a comment, a conflict, an emotion, it doesn't pass through like it does for other people. It goes in, and it starts working, like a machine that never fully turns off. This is why you often can't respond in the moment, not because you don't care, because you care too much to say something that isn't true yet. You need time to find out what you actually think. And most situations don't give you that time. So you go quiet, and the world misreads it every single time. Now here's where it gets honest. Because this trait, this depth, this silence, this processing, it doesn't come free. There are real costs, specific ones. And if you've never had them named out loud, this might be the most uncomfortable 3 minutes of your week. The first cost is this. You are almost always alone, even when you're not. Think about the last time you were in a group, friends, family, co-workers, doesn't matter. Think about what was happening on the surface, conversation, laughter, normal human interaction. Now think about what was happening inside you at the same exact time. You were watching. You were noticing who wasn't laughing quite right, who looked tired behind their eyes, what the dynamic in the room actually was versus what everyone was pretending it was. You were processing 17 things nobody else was tracking, and simultaneously trying to act like you were just there, present, normal. That gap between what's happening inside you and what's happening around you, that's the loneliness. And it's not the kind that goes away when people show up. It's the kind that gets heavier in crowds. Because the more people there are, the more data you're taking in, the more you're processing, the more the distance grows between your inner world and the room you're physically sitting in. You can be surrounded by people who genuinely love you and still feel like you're watching everything through glass. And the brutal thing is, you can't explain this to them. Not really. Because how do you tell someone, "I feel alone when I'm with you," without destroying them? So you don't. You say you're fine. You smile. You do it again next week. And if this is resonating with you right now, if you're nodding at a screen by yourself, you probably already know that this isn't something you can just decide to stop doing. Which brings us to the second cost.
And this one's harder to admit. You accumulate, and eventually something breaks. Here's the cycle, and see if it sounds familiar. Something happens. Could be small, a comment that landed wrong, a situation that felt unfair, an emotion you didn't have time to process. You don't react. You file it away. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Later doesn't come. So you file something else, and something else. And the whole time on the outside you seem completely fine, calm, together, maybe even enviably stable, until you're not. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's not a blow-up. It's a shutdown. You stop responding to messages. You cancel plans. You need 3 days alone and you can't explain why, even to yourself. You just know that the container got full, and now you need everyone to back up. And sometimes it is a blow-up. It comes out sideways, at the wrong person, about the wrong thing, at a moment nobody saw coming, including you. Because you weren't angry about the dishes, or the comment, or whatever triggered it. You were angry about 6 months of things you never said. And now they're all coming out at once, badly. And the person in front of you has no idea what just happened. Neither, honestly, do you. This is one of the most painful parts of being wired this way. Your emotional life runs on a delay. You feel things deeply, but often not in real time. The grief hits 3 days later. The anger surfaces 2 weeks after the thing that caused it. The love? God, the love. Sometimes you don't even realize how much you feel for someone until they're gone. And because of this delay, you're always slightly out of sync with the moment. Always processing yesterday while living today. It's exhausting in a way that's almost impossible to describe to someone who doesn't experience it. If someone in your life is reading this over your shoulder right now, this is what's happening when they go quiet.
It's not manipulation. It's not punishment. They're not doing it to you. They're just full, and they don't know how to empty out while you're watching. Now, here's the part of the video where most creators would tell you how to fix this. They'd give you 5 steps, a framework, a breathing technique, a way to rewire yourself into someone who communicates in real time, processes out loud, and never scares the people they love with 3 weeks of silence followed by an explanation nobody asked for. I'm not going to do that, not because those tools don't exist, but because you've probably already tried them. You've read the books, you've done the journaling, you've gone to therapy, or thought seriously about it. You know the theory, and yet here you are, still going quiet, still accumulating, still feeling alone in rooms full of people who are trying their best to reach you. Because this isn't a behavior you picked up, it's the way your mind is built. And the mind doesn't rebuild itself because you decided to be more open. So what do you do with that? Here's the honest answer. You stop trying to become someone else, and you start understanding yourself more precisely. Because the goal was never to stop processing in silence. The goal is to know yourself well enough to work with it instead of against it. That means knowing your fill point before you hit it, not after. It means learning to say, I'm not ready to talk about this yet, instead of saying nothing. Because those are very different silences, and the people who love you need to know the difference. It means understanding that your delay isn't dysfunction. It's just your timeline. And your timeline is allowed to exist. It also means accepting something uncomfortable. Some people will never be able to stay close to you, not because you're too much, but because the distance between your inner world and theirs is genuinely wide, and no amount of effort from either side will fully close it. That's not failure, that's just honest. The people who can stay, the rare ones who don't need you to explain every silence, who trust that you're still there even when you go quiet, who don't take your processing personally, those people are not luck. You know who they are. And if you have even one of them, you're not as alone as you feel most of the time. Here's what I want you to take from this. Not comfort, not a cure, just recognition. You are not broken because you can't process out loud. You are not cold because you go quiet. You are not weak because you accumulate and eventually crack. You are not failing at being human because your emotions run on a delay. You are someone whose inner life runs deeper and slower than most. That depth is real. The cost of it is real. Both things are true at the same time. And the fact that you watched a video about the price of something you can't change, that's not masochism. That's the thing you do. You look at hard things directly. You sit with them. You process them in silence. And eventually, somewhere in there, you figure out what you actually think. If this video said something that felt true, drop it in the comments. Not for me, for the next person who finds this and needs to know they're not the only one sitting in a crowded room, watching everything, saying nothing, feeling everything. And if you want more of this, the real version, not the comfortable one, subscribe. That's what this channel is.